Okay, welcome back. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how to shift a graph horizontally now. Okay, so now, in order to shift horizontally, either left or right, I have to add or subtract a value, a positive value, from the x value. So that means I'm going to have to be inside the function. So I'm going to, in order to subtract or add a positive number to x here, I have to be inside the squared function, right? So in other words, I have to write it something like this. So now, effectively, I'm adding 2 to the x value, and then I'm squaring it to get y. So I'm, what I say, I'm inside the function, the squared function, okay? Before, I was outside the function, which means I'm taking all my y values and I'm adding 2 to the y values, okay? Because in essence, if I want to move up and down, I have to add to my y value. So that's the same as like saying, well, I want to add 2 to y. Well, that's the same thing as that. That's what we were doing before. But now, since we're in, now we want to do a horizontal shift, left to right. Now I have to go inside the function because I have to manipulate x, right? I have to add or subtract the positive value to the x, which is along the x-axis, right? So now, what would happen if I add 2 inside the function? Well, let's find out. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to graph x squared. Now notice how, just incidentally here, just something to keep in mind, notice how this is highlighted, the equal sign is highlighted, and these are not. Okay, when I graph, watch what happens. Okay, so there's the original. It didn't graph the other functions because I did not have them selected. Okay, I'll show you how to do that in a second. So here's the original function x squared. So now I'm going to move it, well, I'm not going to tell you where I'm going to move, but I'm going to add 2 inside the function. So let's go to the y equals. Okay. Now I'm going to go down. And I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to select the equal sign. Okay, so now it's highlighted. Now I can go graph and it'll graph both of them. Okay, now look what happened. Okay. So when I added 2 inside the function, so when I add 2 to the x value, it moved the graph of the function to the left 2 units. Notice how it went from 0 to 0, right? To -2. So it moved it to the right. So now, what would happen if I subtract? Oops. If I subtract. So let's go down. Now I'm going to hit enter, and now I'm going to graph the other one. If I subtract 2, now look at it. It graphs to the right, so it moved it to the right 2 units. Okay, so what's the result? Well, if you add 2 inside the function, this moves the graph to the left. Two units. If I have y equals x minus 2 squared, this moves the graph to the right 2 units. Okay, so notice if I add 2, now this is kind of like counterintuitive because we would think, oh, well, just like in the vertical direction, when we added 2 outside the function, it moved up. When we subtracted 2, it moved down. But in this case, if we add 2, it doesn't go right as you might think. It goes to the left. Okay? And so the easiest thing to think about this is, in order for this to be 0, right? It goes to the origin. The original function goes to the origin when x is equal to 0. Well, when does this intersect the x-axis? When x is negative 2, the whole thing is 0. So when x is 0, y is 0. Well, when is y 0 here? When x is negative 2. So it moved it to the left. Okay? So, and that's one way to think about it. Other than that, that's all I have. See you next time, and make sure you practice.